So I've been on this thing where I'm trying to get people's understandings or opinions on what generational curses are, because we hear it so often, but yet I feel that it's not talked about as much, and they don't really get into details about what that curse is, because I guess it's a wide range of them. So what I've been doing is trying to break down what the generational curses may be that are affecting each generational age group. So today is about those that are between the ages, well, born between the years of like 1995 to like 2012-ish or so like that. And I got that information offline. But I have so far three wonderful women here. I have Miss Alma. She's been on before, and I have my cousin Kimberly. She was on before a while back, and y'all heard her through the audio version, but this is the visual, so you get to actually see her today. And we have her friend here as a special guest as well, Miss Miyaka. So, ladies, I thank you all for joining me today, and I just want to break it off by asking you each, what do you think the phrase generational curses means to you? Or when you hear it, like what comes to mind?
I think when I hear generational curses, I can only think about, things um from my family. For instance, there was a lot of drug abuse in my family, and I feel like that's a generational curse, something that my family couldn't overcome. Um, my grandmother was a drug user, my mother was a drug user, my grandmother's brothers was drug users. My granddaddy was a drug user. My father was a drug user. So when I hear generational curse, I think about something that something that generations have had a hard time of overcoming. Um, Something that holds your family back from um, exceeding, evolving. Something that a curse that can't be broke. I mean, it can be broken, but a curse that hasn't been broken for generations. Something, you know, that holds you steady in one spot for generations. That's what I think.
Okay.
When I think about generational curses, I think of the word itself. It's a curse. And people don't realize that curses are real, spells are real, and anything that you say reflects. And, as far as your family, drug abuse or whatever, it could have started long years ago with one person saying, you know what, I'm going to just try it a little bit. And they couldn't break that spirit. And now that spirit went to that person and just sowing seeds. And you can sow evil spirits into people, which can cause generational curses. And generational curses can be, like you said, drugs, and be alcoholism, it can be overweight, it can be anything. It doesn't discriminate. So when I think of the term generational curses, I think of just that last piece of it, and that it's a curse. And you got to be strong enough to be able to break that curse and understand what that actually means spiritually. You gotta understand what that actually means.
Yeah.
So when I think of generational curses, I actually wrote down a definition, and I said generational curses are those things that plague a person or a group of persons. Like the young lady said, her grandmother, my mother, my great grandmother, things that have been there that can't be overcome. I had a conversation with one of my friends today, and I shared with him, and I said poverty is a form of a generational curse. And we looked at, he had his version of it, and I had mine. I said, think about the housing development and how that started. What my grandmother told me, she said that when those homes were developed, they were developed for, if just say if it was all of us and we got down on our luck, things fell apart. This was a place where we could go to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and get things together in this temporary place and then leave.
Right.
So we see how that happened. A lot of that didn't happen.
No.
People stayed there, had their families, then their children had children, then those children had children, and there's this there.
Yeah.
That's, to me, is an overall curse of poverty.
Yeah.
You not having that mind, and also the generational curse has your mindset.
Yeah.
Where all my family live here, so why I'm going anywhere?
Yeah.
I'm okay with living off the system. I'm okay with, cause somebody got some free something over here. We're gonna go get it and we're gonna survive. Or my rent is this much. Why would I go and get a better job so my rent can go here?
Go high.
So to me, it's like a plague of the mind. Your mindset has something that controls it, and your feet are cemented in that place. You can't move. But I feel like it can be broken because we all know people that have their families are still there, but they don't live there.
Yeah.
They've moved on, they become educated, they make nice money, they live well. They broke it for their family and moved forward. So that's my thought when I hear generational curse. It's a plague of the mind, your mindset.
Yeah. So what I gather, right, and this is so crazy how y'all were saying it, and so y'all remember in school how they had those paper chains and you had the link and everything linked together. So it's like that's what popped into mind when it goes back to what you said first, Miyaka, which is that something hard to overcome, because when you have these chain link fences or anything that's made with the chain, it's kind of hard to see how it can be broken if you haven't tried to use something to break it. So it's that part. And then Kim, what you were saying as far as that curse, is like that spell, and it can be words, it can be actions, and you all have kept saying that a lot of these things that we recognize as a curse is usually in the doing of a person. Even though they can speak something negatively, that's one part, but then the actions of it, it's like you're still continuing that thing. And it's like, to me, I envision like a link constantly being added. If you're not wanting to break it, then you're constantly adding it, and that thing just extends and extends and extends. And I think that's what connects the generations. So with Alma, what you were saying is that mindset and how it connects the ones together. So if that's the case and it's in the mindset, then how is it for this generation that's born between the years of like 1990s, mid 1990s to like 2012-ish or so? How are they able to break that mindset that, okay, just because so-and-so did it that's older than me doesn't mean that I have to do it? Like, how will they be able to break that mindset? Or what else can you think of that they're trying to follow based on what they think they can do, if that makes sense? Or should I rephrase the question?
Yeah, rephrase it a little.
Yeah.
So the age range is like, what is that?
1995.
Yeah.
95
so
to
that's
2012.
So my kids are in that range. Trini was born in 2001 and Sinclair was born in 2005. So we got a 21-year-old and almost 18-year-old.
Okay. So with that being said, and then Kimberly, you have
got two
out of that. Okay. And then my daughter's like at that tail end. Miyaka, do you have children or do you...
I do. My daughter was born in 2013. She almost made it.
Oh, okay.
So if we think of the way that they operate, right? Can we actually say that they're thinking before they do? I think that's what I'm trying to get at first, just to see how. Okay. Well,
not overall. So
okay.
let me talk about when we all leave home and go to college.
Okay.
And we are all coming from all these different backgrounds. We're all raised differently. And some of us are really, really strong in what we know, what we believe, you know, what has been instilled in us. But when you get with others that don't share that same personality or mindset, you can easily start to bend on what you know. And in that bending, just having, you know, Trinity went away, she went to Louisiana for school. I saw my child started to kind of not cower down to what she knows to be right, but just involving herself in with individuals that you could tell that it's not the same. It's not what she's used to.
Okay.
So you know how they say people, you know, birds of a feather flock together. You got your friends and all of y'all kind of think the same, whatever. Or if you were not thinking like them, once you start hanging with them, you're going to kind of fall into that same line of thought. Thinking before actions doesn't always happen with this generation. They don't think about consequences. Like, I thought about consequences. I know if I got an F on my report card, that's it. I'm not doing nothing. I couldn't do anything. So I thought about, I need to do X, Y, and Z. Then this is going to happen for me. But this generation Z, a lot of them do not think, and they do not think about the consequences of not thinking.
Yeah.
And that kind of spills over into, and I don't want to use mental health because we harp on mental health all the time, but it does weigh on your psyche. It weighs on your psyche. So that's my thought about this generation. They don't think about consequences.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I'll do this and then.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that I do have a stepson. He is 19. He'll be 20 this year. And I helped raise him or whatever. And he took us through a lot because he thought he knew everything. And that's the problem with, or I ain't gonna say problem, that's the thing with this generation. They think they know everything. They think they can't be told anything. They have to go out and experience things on their own. Whereas when we were growing up, it was like our parents only had to tell us, and it was like, okay, I ain't gonna do that. But this generation is not like that. You can tell them and tell them and tell them, but they don't care. They just have this I don't care attitude towards everything. My stepson, he had to learn that on his own. When he was here with us, you know, he didn't want to listen to nothing that we said because he thought we were wrong about everything. We don't know what we talking about. But now that he's out there on his own, he's quickly finding out. And that's, I mean, I think that's just this generation. I think all of them are like that. I ain't gonna say all, the majority of them are like that. They just don't want to listen. They have to find out on their own.
And then not listening kind of channels them into trauma.
Yeah.
That they don't have to experience.
Unnecessary trauma.
You mentioned mental health. You mentioned mental health, and I don't want to harp on mental health either because I'm where you at with it. But that's one thing that my stepson likes to use to his advantage, his mental health. He say, I have PTSD. I have PTSD. He'll do something and then say, it's my PTSD. This generation also likes to make a lot of excuses.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of excuses. They're never wrong. They're always right. And when they are wrong, they don't want to be told they're wrong.
Nope.
No,
You
no
know,
admitting.
yeah, I think one problem is society itself, not their peers, but adults who play on that. Oh, it's the mental health, and he or she has been through so much in life, and the bullying. And I'm against bullying, don't get me wrong, but I feel like with my children, when they come home and they say somebody was talking about me or I'm being bullied, and I look and I ask them, well, what did they say? Because if it's just words, yeah, words hurt, but at the same time, you're going to be talked about until the day that you die. So as far as getting in your feelings about that and feeding off what the teachers are saying, the principals or whoever, society, about bullying, get a little backbone, suck it up, and know that you're going to go through life. It's not going to be given to you, So I think a lot of the times the kids know, even at home, if they get whooped or punished or whatever, they know that society is going to have their back every single time. So that's why I feel like that entitlement, where that comes from, that stems from them knowing that they're going to have a backbone with whoever that says, oh, you shouldn't put your hands on your child, you shouldn't, whatever it is that you decide to do to punish your child, because parents don't have support anymore, which is why these kids are going to school acting up or using mental health, because they're hearing, oh, you have PTSD. So now they play on that. So next thing you know, they go out here robbing Burger King. Oh, it's because I was bipolar today. Society really does play a role in why these children are acting the way that they're acting. I can't even really just say it's social media.
Right.
That does play a part, but they know what they can get away with. They're smart.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? The very thing that you just said about this whole discipline is what I was telling myself earlier today, because I had to make sense of this conversation and how it will play out, because we deal with those who are in this age range. And one thing that keeps sticking out right now is how the young people are bucking up against the adults. Now, a lot of things came to mind because this whole thing about rebellion, I am one who is for it, but yet against it. And here's why. Because when you're put in a situation, normally at school as a young person, they're constantly being told what to do and not really taught how to do some things. The same method that's at home. You constantly telling me, don't do this, don't do that, but you're not telling me why. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna buck that system. So it's like, if they're not giving no direction, then they're gonna try to test the waters. They're testing the waters at home, testing the waters at school, seeing how far they can go, how much trouble they can get into. But who's holding them accountable? Nobody. Because why? The adults ain't holding themselves accountable. Now, I believe that there are a lot of adults that keep misdiagnosing these kids, but yet not finding that treatment that they need. So I've run into several occasions where the kids use that whole phrase, oh, I got, it's oppositional defiance disorder. I don't know if y'all started hearing that too. But they just kept saying, I got ODD. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, are you odd? Like you just ain't got it all together? Or like, what is that? So, and one crazy thing was that one of the kids tried to say he had it, but he didn't know how to pronounce it. Like he was saying, I got ODD. I said, what does that stand for? It's I said, well, you ain't got it then. Because if you don't know what it means, you don't know what it means.
Right. You just claiming something that you heard.
Exactly. So you're just basically being defiant just because you want to, or just because
you can. Definitely.
Because all these teachers was just basically like, they were so focused on how handsome he looked and this, but yet he's over here manipulating y'all. Like somebody gotta use their common sense at some point. So I was just in between this whole rebellion thing. It's like you know how to push the envelope, but yet you you have this thing where you need to be told what to do because you, like y'all was saying, you don't know everything. Because he will walk around like he owned the school and had no kind of good grades on his report card and stuff. So I'm just like, you just might want to sit all that down first. Like get your academics together, basically do a whole reset and then come back. But how do y'all feel about this generation and the whole rebellion thing? Like, would y'all consider that a curse too, or just a behavior thing? Or
I think it's this generation has younger parents. I started out young, so my 16-year-old, I started out young, but got that old school parenting. So my parenting style is based off of how I was raised. And I will say this is a good example. I'm not going to mention any names, but there's a young lady that I went to high school with, and her daughter was having some issues with some other children, and I think she might have been like 12 or 13, and it played out all on social media. I mean, you would have thought that the mother was arguing with adults, but she was arguing with the children. So if you are acting like a child yourself and you got a child and she's seeing all of this, then of course, when she go to school, like you said, wherever she's going to act and mimic the same way her mother's acting, which she's young-minded. So I think that plays a role with people want to be their children's friend. And I don't believe in that. I'll be your friend, but I mean, I'm going to be your parent first. Yeah. And you're going to respect me first. And we can have fun, but me being friends and going on social media and cussing these kids out and posting pictures and doing all that, that's a prime example of what you were saying as far as like being rebellious or whatever. She's being taught that at home. So that's not even really just self-taught. That's taught by a parent to just be disrespectful.
And then
you have some.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was going to say you have some kids, that's not even just they're not even mimicking their parents, because like I hate to go back to it. My stepson, he's the best example that I have. He was in the household with me and his dad. Now, no, I'm not his mom, but I raised him like he was my child. I didn't, treat him any different. He was the only kid in the house for the longest until I had my daughter. My daughter is 10. He's about to be 20. So I treated him like he was mine. So he got love 100%, but that didn't stop him from acting out. He was very, very intelligent. This was a kid that was able to read at the age of 3. And when I say read, I'm not talking about cat, dog, and all of that. He could read full sentences. So very intelligent. However, he just did not want to do right. He went to school, made bad grades, made up stories that could have sent me, him, his dad, and everybody to jail. Just did things just because. And he was rebellious for the reason of he wanted his mom around. And I think that was a generational curse because her mom didn't know how to parent her. And so she didn't know how to be a parent to him. And then when he came along, he wanted that love from his mama and he wasn't getting it. So he acted out just like his mama did when she was a kid and she wasn't getting that love that she seeked from her mom. Right. So, I think he was very rebellious, but it was rebellious not because of what he was getting, what he was mimicking from home. It was more so because of that lack of love that he was getting from his mom.
Yeah. So those are, I consider those learned behaviors, like when you are not directly taught from someone on what to do, but you just all of a sudden do it, and it can be a learned habit as well. It's a lot that can go into this whole generation because I'm more of an observer than anything. And when I kind of see them like getting out of pocket or whatever, I kind of pull them to the side. Like I'm not all for, trying to embarrass them in front of other people because it does no good. And I remember when we were growing up, the parents had permission to come up to the school and show out just as much as the child was showing out. But nowadays, like y'all said earlier, they're not really allowing that, and they're not even all for, you know, that whole public punishment or discipline. So would you say that has something to do with, you know, the lack thereof that needs to be shown?
I don't think it would help this generation. I'm sorry.
It wouldn't?
I don't think it would. No, and the only reason why I say that is because these children now are running away. If you notice on Facebook, I'm about 2 weeks ago, it was like boom, 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 all these posts. Help me find my daughter. My son is missing. And they run away with either a man, or they just run away because they got mad. Like one little girl, she was just mad at her parents, so she just ran away. So this generation, they talk to each other, of course, because we didn't have social media. So we kind of just had to figure it out on our own, or wait until we got to school and be like, hey, did you know, this generation, it's just the click of a button. They can get on YouTube and figure out how to get away with doing things. So they know how to, like she was saying, it's Alma, how she was saying how you can just get away with like bucking the system. In other words, they know how to do, they know what to do. So going up to the school, depending on the child, of course, and their upbringing, I don't think it would work. If they cussing their parents out at home.
Right.
Now, my child, he know. AJ know. Because I've gone up there. Now, I didn't act a fool or nothing like that. But he know this is my rule, don't embarrass me. Because if you embarrass me, I'm gonna embarrass you. Now, I ain't gonna act a fool and make myself look bad. But if I have to come up to the school, people are gonna know why I'm there. So he's that kid that knows. No, I want my mama to come up here. But other children, they don't have that guidance at home. They don't have, like Miyaka was saying, some of them don't even have love. So they just out here doing whatever, or they telling their parent what to do.
That is true. That is so true.
It's a lack of respect. Discipline has been made to seem, because I work for the Department of Children's Services. So discipline has been made to seem as though you can't discipline your kids. Your kids. Yes, you can spank your children. There's nothing in the law that says you can't apply corporal punishment in your home. The only reason that corporal punishment is talked about is when it's excessive and when you hurt a child. When there's bruises and marks and tears and that's when discipline cannot be used. But we can discipline our children, but because I don't know who started this, I'm calling the police on my mama. Whoever started that, kids got it and ran with it. And now people have tried to become real creative in their discipline. And some of it has hurt their children. That makes sense.
What is it, parenting or something like that? I think
with your parenting style, because there are some parents who try to discipline their children the same way. And I think I said on one of our other podcasts one time that I could never discipline Trinity and Sinclair the same way. Because they're two totally different people. Trinity had to get spanked. Sinclair, all you had to do was look at her crazy, and she's a puddle of tears. And she didn't do whatever anymore. There are some parents who have tried to discipline all their kids the same way, and it didn't work out. So once all this, you can't spank kids, you can't got circulated wrong information, that fear of parents is taken away. Now, I was afraid of my parents.
I was too.
I was afraid of my parents, and I was afraid to have any teacher or anybody in authority over me call my mama or my daddy. There are some kids that know if you call my mom and daddy, they come up here, they're gonna air this whole thing out. So I ain't got nothing to worry about because I'm not gonna be in trouble. There's so respect has gone out the window. Discipline has gone out the window. So what do? You have children that are allowed to wild out and nothing happened. Nobody can say anything. And I'm going to blame the parents. Every time. I'm going to blame the parents because when you had the opportunity to instill, to do whatever you need to do from a small kid, because once they get 15, 16, 13, why are you trying to change up what you're doing and what you're instilling in them? So a lot of what we're seeing is the product of parents not parenting the way they were parent, or they're afraid to parent.
And a product of their environment as well.
Right.
You know, that plays a major part as well. But I agree, it's definitely parenting.
Yes.
And especially if you're gonna be one of these people that's gonna have a whole bunch of kids. You got 5 kids, all 5 of your kids don't need to be bad. Like, no.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because at one point you didn't get something right. You got 5 kids and every last one of them giving you, and you always called and somebody always suspended. It's a fight. They into it with the neighbor's kid. At some point, out of all those kids, something happened. So I'm gonna blame the parents.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's especially at the age of accountability. Kids know right from wrong. You need to push your kids to that point. You know, this is right, this is wrong. You know that there's certain things that you can do in front of me that you can't do. There's certain things that you can't do in front of me.
Right.
So why would you go to school and cuss a teacher out? Do you curse me?
Right.
No. But if you are cursing me when you go to school and cuss a teacher out, why am I be surprised about that?
If they are in the home with mama, grandmama, and God knows who other relative there is, how would you speak to those multi-generational homes that still keep carrying on these spells, or the like you all were talking about earlier, these things that are easy to overcome, but they choose not to overcome it? So if this whole thing about, disrespecting those who are adults or whatnot is y'all's thing as a family, who's trying to break the curse? So I guess my question to you all would be, what do you see that seems to possibly exist within these multi-generational homes, and then how that can be broken?
I think it's acknowledging that you have a problem. A lot of people just don't want to acknowledge that they are alcoholics or drug addicts, or they have a problem. And we all hear that story of the uncle raping the little cousin or whatever, and they always say, "Oh, he's just crazy," or "Oh, he's just weird acting," instead of taking a dive into, okay, well, what's really wrong? Like, why is this person doing that? Instead of acknowledging that something's wrong and correcting it, we just keep sweeping things under the rug. And I think it also stems back from what goes on in this house stays in this house. That was a big saying back in the day. Like, you don't tell nobody what's going on in this house. So I believe, I'm a firm believer that's one reason why these generational curses still exist, because it was never talked about. It was never acknowledged that people had a problem, so they didn't get the help that they needed. So, like you were talking about, the change just keep getting longer and longer and longer. That's what I think. That's my take on that part of it.
Yeah.
And it's true, because using your example of kids being molested, people that molest, it happens to them. And the person that 9 times out of 10, the person that perped on that person was perped on. I remember hearing my grandmother say that even in families have to protect their daughters from your daddy, your uncle. There are some families that's just like that, because there are men in some families that They don't care.
Yeah.
That's sad.
It's sad, and I'm gonna take it as far as even if they're perping on the girls, young girls, that's a learned behavior. Because if my uncle got away with it, me as a boy and my girl cousins, I'm gonna get away with it too, because my uncle did it, and nothing happened to him. So again, to what you're saying, Tianna, learn behaviors. And nobody did anything about it. Nobody said nothing about it. Nobody called the police. Nobody made any type of reports. They swept it under the rug. Oh, it happened. They'll grow out of it, or it's not going to be a big deal. And you got so many people out here that are messed up simply because families want to keep secrets. And I think that's a generational curse too. Keeping secrets, not saying, not want to, reach out and say, hey, this is what's going on over here. It has to stop. We cannot continue to allow these men and our families to do this to these girls in our family.
Right.
Why? Why not?
And it also, it also plays, with the young girls, they grow up to think when they start dating men, now they're mistreated because they think that's a sign of love. Then they have children. So if they date somebody and that person touches their child, they know it's wrong, but they're going to stay with that person because, like you were saying, is learned behavior or a curse, generational curse. That's where that generational curse begins right there. Is ongoing.
And I'll probably take it a step further because not all the time we as women of this culture look down on men. We don't do that. Not all of us do. And there are, like it was said in one of the other podcasts that I did the other day, is that there are some women who do the molesting as well. So it's protecting your young boys and also not allowing the young men to think that they're just like the male that they came from. Because you got a lot of single mothers out here who, like you all just said, not telling the truth. Because there are some kids, I had that moment where I thought my dad didn't love me, but I found out the whole situation and the story, how it came about. But if these mothers who are single are more truthful with their children, that can be a whole healing in itself, because that won't cause them to think that they're not loved, so that they won't be desperate to look for somebody who may resemble the person that they want to love, because the mothers are not really letting the child know that, hey, I did something wrong, and that's why your daddy ain't around. But it's always a lot of times it's like making the male look like a person, and perhaps he's in jail because of the fact that the child support couldn't work out in his favor because he was trying to find a job, couldn't find a job in time, so he couldn't pay his child support. But you over here hounding him for the money, and it's just who's gonna be truthful? Who's gonna be the adult of the whole situation? So I think that if they constantly have these thoughts of all the adults are the same, so this person don't like me, this one don't like me. Yes, I feel like that's why they have this rebellion thing, because they're fighting against so many adults who think they are right and cannot be corrected. Because like I was saying with that whole generational thing, Miyaka, you were saying it earlier with the not being right or being wrong. What they say, they think they know everything. Think about it. Those who were of the earlier years thought they knew everything too, in my opinion. Not all of them, but most of them did. So it's like still passing down from generation to generation. If great grandmama thought she knew everything, then it passed down and it ended up getting to this younger generation. So what would you ladies say to possibly encourage these families on how to break generational curses? If there was at least one thing that you could say.
Prayer.
She said prayer.
Yeah.
Oh, I say prayer. My coworker, me and her were talking about. It's funny we're having this conversation. We were talking about spirituality and spiritual warfare and generational curses and stuff like that. I do with that book. She actually bought me a book, and I'm gonna show y'all this book. I haven't started, but this book right here, y'all can see it.
The Art of Warfare.
Oh,
there you go, right there. Oh, right there. The Art of Warfare for Spiritual Battle.
For spiritual battles. Yeah. And there are different prayers and everything in that book to help fight against whatever you're going through or whatever, which I haven't really started reading. I'm only read 2 pages. Don't judge me.
No, you good.
But yeah, I think acknowledging that you got the problem and going to God in prayer and asking God to release all of those strongholds and soul ties and whatever else that you got going on within that family. It's gonna have to start with someone. But I have to brag on my friend real quick because she broke a generational curse. She really did. Miyaka, this past Saturday, she graduated. She's the first female in her family to graduate college.
Yeah.
So she said she wasn't gonna be a statistic or whatever.
Exactly.
And maybe she can give you more clarity on what she did to break it, but I don't have that. That's not my story. As far as, you know, the drugs and stuff like that. I have people, of course, in my family that are alcoholics and, you know, drug addicts, but I wasn't exposed to that if that makes sense. So I always go back to acknowledging and praying and trying your best to work it out on your, you know, work it out if you need counseling or whatever. That's just that's where my mind go, because I haven't had to deal with generations of whatever. I haven't had to, not that I know of. I might have a problem and I might not know what the problem is.
Right.
I haven't had to do that.
I think it goes back to what was said earlier, mindset, because that's all it was for me. It was a mindset. I had a mindset that I wasn't gonna be what the other women in my family were gonna be. They were drug addicts. They were, you know, I'm poor, don't get me wrong, but they were drug addicts. They were poor. They depended on, they didn't work. They just sat around and waited for a welfare check, food stamps. They encouraged things like that. They didn't finish school. I am the first woman in my family to not only get a college degree, but also finish grade school completely. Now, my grandmother, she did get her GED, but she dropped out of school, went back and got her GED. However, that wasn't my story. I literally finished grade school completely. And I was the first woman in my family to do that. The women in my family had babies really young. My mom had me when she was 16. Her mom had her when she was 16. And her mom had her when she was 15. So, you know, I had a really young mother, a really young grandmother, a really young great-grandmother. So my family is just young. And I had my daughter when I was young, but I wasn't a teenager. I was 25, almost 26. So that's another generational curse that I broke. And that's all because I had that mindset. I had that drive. I was like, I'm not going to be those women. When I was a kid, a lot of people tried to put those things off on me. They tried to tell me that I was going to be everything that those women are. You're going to be a drug addict. You're going to have a whole bunch of kids and living off welfare. You're never going to accomplish anything. You're never going anywhere in life. You're going to be in the projects. You know, they tried to tell me that, but my mindset was not there. My mindset said, no, I'm going to be better than that.
Yeah.
I had that drive. I had that strength. I had that, I wanted it. And nobody could tell me that I wasn't going to get it. And that's just what it was. So everything that I put my mind to, it may have taken me a while to get there, but I did it.
That's right. That's right.
So it's a mindset. You have to have that mindset. You can't let what happened in your past or in your family's past hinder you from going after the things that you want. You can't let society say that that's what you're gonna be just because that's what your mama was, that's what your grandmother was, your great grandmother, you know, your auntie, your uncles. You know, I live that. My family don't have anything. My great grandmother died last January. She didn't have anything to leave anybody. She was living with my mom. Didn't have anything to leave anybody. My grandmother, she died before my great grandmother, and she didn't have anything to leave anybody. And I seen that at a really young age, and I knew that that's not how I wanted to live. So, you know, you just gotta have that mindset. You gotta have that mindset and that drive, and you just can't give up. You know, and like Kim said, it take a whole lot of prayer. You know, and trusting in God. You gotta get down on your knees and do that ugly cry and ask God, you know, God, you know, give me the strength, because that's what it takes, a whole lot of strength.
Right.
A whole lot of strength. And nobody can give you that but God. So
make sure you put the quiver lip in there too. He'll answer that when you get the no,
let me say this. I am so proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because that is something that your baby, your mindset is going to be in her.
Yes.
It's going to be in her. And her mindset from you is going to be into her child. So you started a generational blessing.
Yeah.
For you. Oh, I like that.
For this.
I like that.
Need to get that on the shirt. I am a generational blessing.
A generational blessing.
I like that. I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on.
A generational blessing, because when we speak what we want, God, from our mouth to God's ear, He hears everything that we say.
Yeah.
Even when sometimes we had a little bit of doubt, because we're human, we're not perfect, and He puts that drive in us. We can't do nothing but flourish. We can't do nothing but have something different. And by you wanting something different, look at your girl. You can write a book.
I tell her that all the time, and that's not even her whole story.
I'm pretty sure that it isn't, but you can write a book.
She could.
I have seen. I haven't experienced it because my mama drug habit was her drug habit, but I had to live through it because, you know, she was my mama and I had to be there and I seen it all. So, man, if only people knew, they would understand why I had that mindset. Like,
so
now I'm not.
So now you understand when people say, "But God,"
but God.
But God, if it weren't for Him, how?
Yeah.
It's so because I work for the Department of Children's Services, and it's so many of those kids that come into care with the similar stories, and we see them headed that direction, and we try, because you know we're adults, we've been working in this field for a long time. We try to talk to them, and just think about being a teenager. And you have had to grow up really, really fast because you've seen everything under the sun at the wrong time, because it wasn't your time to learn all this stuff. And then when you finally have someone that wants to pour into you, y'all don't understand. It's so many kids out here who block their feeling. They don't want to be filled because they are scared. They are so scared. They so scared to be something different than their families.
And they judgments, you know, being judged too. Oh, you think you better.
Now that's a big one.
I want something different. I want something different.
Yeah.
You still my mama, you still my grandmama, you still my great grandmama, you still my uncle, you still everything, but I just want something different. And if you love me, you will want me to want what I want. have in life.
Yeah.
Girl, you better write a
Right.
book. Write a book so we can do a book club. Talk about
Right.
like seriously.
And
I
that's
told
what,
her that. I told her
yes.
she needs to write a book because her story will bless so many people.
And
And
go ahead.
I was gonna say the last question that you gave us, what would be the reason that many generational curses exist in families? I said because no lessons have been taught or passed down.
Right.
That's
That's
true.
why
That's it.
those curses are going to linger.
Yeah.
Because if somebody had the lesson and taught the lesson, it could change. It could turn around. It might not happen in my mama's generation, but with me, like with you,
Yeah.
you change the story. You change the game. You're a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
have totally changed the game. And you just said it was your mindset.
Yeah.
What you said earlier.
What if a lot of people just understood that that's all it takes? Changing your mind. And guess how many people would support them with that mindset being changed?
Yeah.
I want all of us to win, especially Black women.
Man,
I want us to win.
Me too.
Yeah.
I
Me
want us to win
too.
no matter what, because society always got something to say about us.
Right.
Wanting to be like
Right.
us, but they talk about us all the
Talk
time.
about us.
I'm so proud of you. I'm
Thank
so
you.
proud
Thank
of
you. Thank you. Thank you.
I should have put my
Thank
shirt
you.
on. I went to a graduation, and it's like, who's graduating though? I had a shirt that had proud best friend of the graduate, and some of the photographers were like, "Oh my God, who's graduating?" I said, "My best friend."
Yeah, you can't see the shirt
because it's just something that, like I said, I know her story, of course, so it's kind of, I know what she's been through, and she broke it, and her children was there to see it, and it's that curse. It stopped at her mother. It literally just stopped right there. So
Yeah.
generational
And
blessings. I wrote that down.
Yeah.
And y'all wouldn't believe the criticism I get in my family because I choose a different lifestyle from most of them, because I have cousins that I grew up with who was in the same situation. Their mama was on drugs too. My mama's sister, she was on drugs too, and they look at it like, I think I'm better than them and this, that, and the third, because I choose not to do certain things or act a certain way. But I try to get them to understand all the time, no, it's not that. It's just my mindset is different from yours. That's it. You can have the same thing that I have. Quit trying to criticize me and tell me that, I think I'm this and I think I'm that, because I don't think that of myself. What I think of myself is I'm confident, I'm smart, and I'm gonna be everything that every person said that I wouldn't be. And they can have that same mindset if they just changed it just like that. It's just a matter of changing your mindset. I tell my kids, life is about choices. You either choose to do right or choose to do wrong, choose to do good or choose to do bad. How are you gonna decide? I chose to do right. I chose to do good. Because karma is real. Karma is real. What you put into the universe definitely does come back to you. So I chose to do right and I chose to do good. So that right and that good could come back to me, and they could have the same thing.
And choosing right doesn't always mean it's gonna be easy.
Right.
When it's time to do something bad, that's the easiest thing to do. It's so easy. Just like I hear, like working with these kids when I used to work in juvenile justice, it's easy to get in trouble. But guess what? It's hard to get out.
It's hard to get out.
And the hard part of getting out is because you got to do the right stuff to get out.
Right.
It's hard. It's very difficult. Girl, you better write a book.
I used to work with juveniles too, and I used to tell them the same thing. It was one kid in particular who he was actually a good kid. The only reason why he was there is because he chose to be like a friend, and then that friend was doing this. So when he was in the facility, I literally would just sit and watch him. I'm like, why is he here? because he's not like the other children that have all these issues at home. Now he did have some issues, but it wasn't to the point where he should have been where he was at.
Right.
And just like you said, it was easy to get in there, but getting out was a struggle. It was a struggle to get out. He made it out, and I seen him a few years ago. He seems to be doing good, which is good, but it's easy to get in, hard to get out, like you said, and it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And another thing was, for me, no matter how many drugs my mama did, one thing I will say, when she wasn't high on drugs, she was still a parent. I was afraid of my mama. Like, if she said she was gonna whip my butt, I was shaking in my boots. Like, hold on, she's gonna get me. And so that was another role. That was another thing that played a role in my mindset too. I was always too scared to try to do bad. Now, don't get me wrong, I tested the water sometimes, but my mama put that fear in me, like, if you go out and you do X, Y, and Z, you're gonna get in trouble, and it's hard to get out of trouble. So, if people could understand that too a little more, then, again, mindset.
Yeah. And that's why I wasn't so heavy on being opposed to this whole rebellion thing, because when you got people constantly talking negative to you, there's going to be some pushback. And that's how I kind of see that rebellion. Like, I'm rebelling against that negative that you're trying to speak on me to prove to you. I ain't got to prove it to you, but I'm going to prove it to you that I'm going to do something totally different.
Right.
It may blow your mind. It may scare you away, but I'm going to do this for me. And the fact that a lot of these young people, I think some of them are starting to get it, but it's taking them a little bit of time because they don't have that support like we do, in a way, to encourage them to keep doing what's right, keep doing this, because like I said earlier, they keep being told what they're doing wrong, but not really acknowledged for what they're doing right.
Or told what they can't. You know how there are some people that they tell you everything that you can't do, but never what you can do. Kind of like the church sometimes. In the church, you can't do this. You can't wear pants. You can't wear makeup. You can't do blah, blah, blah. Well, what can I do?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What am I doing?
Yeah, and why am I here if I can't do anything?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have to push the positive push the positive as much as you push the negative, but the negative that you're pushing, tell me why I can't. Just give me an explanation. You can't go on this street because prostitutes over here, pimps over here. That's why you can't go on this street. Not, you just can't go on this street. So that'll plant a seed of curiosity. What you tell people that they can't do, they gonna want to find out. Well,
that's true.
My mama said I can't talk to such and such. I can't talk to those girls, or I can't be around this kind of. But without giving a reason, I mean, it's like those are like lessons. And I think I said in another one of our talks one time about how I was allowed with my parents to ask why, but respectfully, not, well, why you telling me I can't? Nah, well, mama, why can't I do? So in turn, with Trinity and Sinclair, they can ask me why. And I'm not gonna say because I said so, because this sounds to me, this sounds crazy. Yeah. Because I said so.
That can be confusing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You get in trouble and you don't know why you're in trouble.
Because
so that can be real confusing to a child.
And if they can go to somebody else and that person can tell them the same thing and explain it, but it might not be the way your mama gonna explain it.
Exactly.
She might have a different reason of saying why you can't do something.
Right.
So, or your dad may tell you something. So
it might make it sound good to them.
Yeah.
That's why they jump around from one person to another trying to get a permission. So if you saying no, then let me go over here and see what they gonna say, because they may
trying to seek validation.
Yeah.
But this was a good topic. Generational curses was a very good topic, and you hit it on the head with this one.
I was trying to get each and every generation that I can. It's just those that are coming after. I think they're considered generation alpha or something like that after this generation that we're talking about, but I don't have anybody for it. So I'll probably do my own whatever. But for the most part, I'm so glad you ladies were able to join and share. Is there anything else? Oh, this is what I was gonna say, and it'll probably challenge your responses to prayer being the answer to break the curses. Because what if somebody says, I don't know how to pray, I don't have that relationship? Because what I normally tell people is to just start talking. If you can't start talking, then just start writing. And if you can't start writing, then just sit in silence for a good second. It won't hurt. It won't hurt.
Please God. Just say, please God.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he hears it in any form, pretty much, is what I believe. It doesn't have to be scripted. It's just from the heart. Whatever you have to say. If you let them know, hey, I'm mad, that's a start.
That's a great start. So, because my prayer and the way I talk to God just like I talk to y'all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Driving in my car. That's my favorite place to pray. Driving somewhere. Driving because I work in the field, so I'm driving here and there. I talk to God like I'm talking to somebody on the phone.
Me too. And I question God too. I know some people say you shouldn't, but if going back to what you said, if you don't know, like sometimes, God, why am I going down this path if I didn't want to go this way? I'm trying to do this. And of course he'll tell you, but if you don't ask, how do you know?
Right.
So I question, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, you funny about this situation because you know, so yeah.
He'll even show you, even if he doesn't say anything at that moment. That's how I kind of guide it or gauge it. You know, if you ain't saying nothing, you gonna show me in just a couple of minutes or
exactly.
Or right when you need the answer, it'll come. You'll be like, what? Or you have a conversation with somebody, or you see something on TV, you hear something on the radio, you get to church Sunday, the pastor or minister, whoever there may say something, you'll be like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. Okay, I'm good with that. And then sometimes he may not, our answers are not always, his no's is not always a no forever.
Right.
And a lot of people think that because God don't change a situation right then and there, it might not be the time. It might be a lesson that you need to learn in that time frame. And once that lesson has been taught, then God can change your situation.
It's a not yet.
Yeah. And also, what are you doing to get out of that situation? Because God's not gonna move mountains unless you're trying to help yourself. So, and my 16-year-old, he was praying. I forgot what he needed. I forgot what he wanted. But anyway, my question was, what did you pray about it? Yeah, but the prayers ain't working. Are you believing the prayers?
Thank you. Thank you.
And his answer was, well, yeah. Well, that doesn't sound too sure. So to me, I feel like you have to believe what you're asking, and you got to believe it's going to happen. It's not going to happen until you show that you want it to happen.
Right.
Like that mindset. It's just a mindset. Like she said, I like that.
Yes.
Mindset.
Miyaka, you had something?
No, I was just gonna say I used to be ashamed to pray out loud because I used to feel like I wasn't the greatest prayer because like I would hear other people pray and I would be like, I can't do that.
Some folks be showing out. It grinds my gears. Like I'm just like, for real. No, but for real. But you growling at God. You not even.
And they done copy somebody prayer off of YouTube and started practicing. Oh, Father God, stretch my hands to thee, and using all these words.
Yeah, the people they don't even know what they mean.
They don't even know. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
And
I
also
used to be
careful.
very ashamed.
Yeah, and to those who may be listening or watching or whatever, just be careful of those quote unquote prayer posts that are flying around, because you just got to be careful of what you pray also.
You gotta be very specific in your prayers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because if folks be wanting you to be quick to say amen, and you just said amen to something that you can't even handle. I mean, it's just, you just
That
got to
made
use
a whole
wisdom.
agreement.
Yeah. Using wisdom and what you asked for. Ladies, if there's nothing else, whew, man, they gonna get something today.
Yeah, this was a good topic.
It was
This was
a
a really
very
good. Yeah,
Some
this was
today, man. Cousin, like you were asking me, I so want to get it to where it's like a whole group of us.
a whole. Yeah,
Go in, but not everybody's schedule works. So I'm just like, okay, I'll take it how I can.
yeah. Well, maybe next time
Yeah.
we can all kind of,
I've been thinking of doing a live one and see who jumps on there. Your
That would
eyes
be
got
cool.
big, Alma.
let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do
Yeah,
it.
just
That would be
anybody
cool.
just jump on.
Yeah.
Anything else, ladies? Anything else?
Oh, good.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it again. I
You
appreciate it
know
again.
it.
Anytime.
I just say change your mindset. You can do anything you put your mind to. I know that's so cliche because we was told that as kids, but it's true. You definitely can do anything that you want to do. You just have to change your mindset. You have to tell yourself that you want it. You got to tell yourself that you're gonna have it. I speak positivity in my household all the time. Positive mindset, positive things will happen for you.
It's like them daily affirmations too, because those are effective so much. I kind of slacked after a while with that, but I'm just like, it works. You just gotta work it. What they say, faith without works is dead. That's another one that we say. I mean, and that's a story in itself. To say that, oh, I got faith, but yeah, you ain't doing nothing. You ain't doing nothing with it. But it's possible to break generational curses, you guys. If y'all haven't heard anything else, it is so possible to break generational curses. And even if you don't know how, try a different way than what you've been taught or what you've learned or seen or however it came about. Just know that you can be your greatest supporter. Even if you don't have any support around you, God is your number one supporter, as we keep promoting. And just trust that he has your best interest at heart. So, ladies, if nothing else, I do thank you. As always, Miyaka, welcome to the team. This is what we do. And until next time, y'all know what it is. All right. Y'all take care. Hearts.
Bye.
Bye, ladies.